We are standing by for a news conference with Albuquerque Police Chief Ray Schultz concerning the death of the little boy who was found buried in an Albuquerque park 6 days ago. An arrest of a woman was made early this morning, a woman who may be the mother of the child. Right now, let's go to Chief Schultz with an update on what's going on.
It's also a very somber day because we have news when it comes to the death of the child who was found in Alvarado Park. The child has been identified. And he is Tyrus, also known as Tyree, or Ty, Toribio, age 3 years and 7 months. As you can see, a very special child, and that's what makes this case so hard for everybody within the Albuquerque Police Department that's worked on it for the last 6 days. I want to start off by thanking the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. As you can see, the work that their forensic artists did in this case, as I said 2 days ago, would be pivotal. And it was pivotal in this case and helping us bring this case to a resolution. Yesterday evening, at approximately 11 p.m., members of the Albuquerque Police Department located Ty's mother, Tiffany Toribio, at 3rd and Central. We just prior to that received a call that Tiffany had just left from the 6900 block of Churchill Southwest after leaving a house there, was going to walk to the main station and turn herself in. We immediately began flooding the area with officers along Central Avenue and did find her at approximately 11 o'clock at 3rd and Central. Originally, when approached by officers, she concealed her identification. She did not admit to being Tiffany. Through an interview, she did later, through the process of finding some identification on her, we did positively identify her as Tiffany. When asked about the child and where the child was, she told us that the child had been turned over to the custody of the state and was in the custody of CYFD. Detectives were then called. Tiffany was taken into custody and brought to the Albuquerque Police Department. Throughout the early morning hours, members of the department continued to talk to Tiffany. And early this morning, we did receive a confession from Tiffany, and she told us what had happened with her son, Ty. She told us that on the 7th of May, she had been asked to leave her mother's house. She had left the house. The mother had asked her to leave because she did not like the way that Ty was being taken care of. She then went to some friend's house. She stayed with some friends that was about 2 blocks away from Alvarado Park. She stayed with the friends with Ty until the 12th of May, at which time she was asked once again to leave the friend's house because they did not like the way that she was treating the child. In the early morning hours of the 13th, she went to Alvarado Park. She walked around the park for over an hour while the sprinklers were on. When the sprinklers were turned off, sometime around 1 o'clock in the morning, she went to the area of the gym equipment. While laying in the gym equipment with her son, she placed her hand over her son's mouth and nose and suffocated him. She had second thoughts about what she did. She performed CPR on her son, brought him back to life, and then decided to go forward with the original act that she had started to commit, and a second time placed her hand over Ty's mouth and nose and suffocated him. She then went underneath the gym equipment, dug a hole, moved Ty's body to the sand, and buried him. Since that time, she's been walking the streets of the city of Albuquerque. As you can see, this case has been very, very emotional on everybody within the department. And when we received this picture of Ty late yesterday from family members, that really struck a chord or a note with everybody within this organization. I cannot thank the members of the Albuquerque Police Department, those detectives and officers who've worked around the clock on this case. This is the first case of this type. We've actually had to employ the Family Advocacy Center. The Family Advocacy Center, again, was one of those things that was key in solving this case, is having all of our resources together, our detectives from both crimes against children and violent crimes, and our specialists to be able to work in an environment and put this case together. Over the past week, we followed up hundreds of leads. We've worked with agencies outside of the Albuquerque Police Department, to include the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, the U.S. Marshals Service, CYFD. For example, we've pulled every case where there's been a referral from CYFD on every child that would be between the ages of 3 and 5. And there are a lot of those cases, and I've had officers following up on all of those leads.
We've been listening to a news conference conducted by Albuquerque Police Chief Ray Schultz concerning the death of the little boy in Alvarado Park in Albuquerque 6 days ago, and we now have a name for that little boy. He is 3-year-old Tyree Toribio, Tyree Toribio, 3 years, 7 months old when he died. Police have arrested and charged his mother with his murder. Tiffany Toribio has been charged early this morning, charged with an open count of murder in Ty's death. You heard the very emotional chief describe a confession. He says a confession from Tiffany Toribio admitting to causing the death of her son on the 13th, early in the morning on the 13th in that park at Alvarado Park. The police chief said that the woman told officers that she had first suffocated the boy, brought him back to life with CPR, and then suffocated him a second time and then buried him there. She was arrested late last night on the streets of Albuquerque, where she has been wandering, according to the police chief, since she was evicted from a friend's apartment on the 12th of May. Of course, we will continue to follow this dramatic story with a lot more information for you coming up today on News 13 at noon. We now go back to regular programming.